Let's hear it for Gwen Walls, the next Second Lady of the United States. It's so funny, in the whole room, we're like, hey, how's it going? I haven't seen you since the convention, and what have you been up to? What have you been up to? Oh, you know, saving democracy. But that's literally what we're talking about. And this is going to be our second bus tour together, you know, so it's getting to be a habit. But we had such a great time, the four of us, my new best friend, her husband, Tim. I'm still getting a lot of you-know-what for that big bear hug the first time we met from my actual longtime friends and family members who said, you've never hugged me like that. But he's awesome. He's so great. And where's Governor Cooper? Your governor is so awesome. Governor Cooper is such a dear, close friend of your next president. He even was the one who introduced her before her convention speech. And it's your next governor is here too, Josh Stein. Oh, this is easy. I'm just going to keep calling out names, and you guys can just cheer. This is great. And I was married to a former attorney general, and they make great leaders because Roy was one, Josh is one, and it's okay. They know how to lead. Gosh, I've been all over the place for the last couple of 6 weeks or so. I barely get to see Kamala. Seriously, we had to literally go for a walk on an airstrip yesterday in Pittsburgh to spend some quality time together. And that's what we're doing, but we don't have time for, happy couple moments right now. We really don't. We barely see each other. When we do, it's really, if I say anything like, oh my God, there you are on TV again, or look at this poll, or you're doing so great, she just takes my head, says, we haven't won anything yet, and get back out there on the road. So here I am in North Carolina. But thank you. There's a debate tomorrow. And the one thing she did say to the press yesterday was simply, I'm ready. It's like, she's ready. And, I was a pretty good trial lawyer myself in my lawyer days. And, as couples, you have these, I won't call them arguments. I call them discussions. And every single time we get into a debate at home, I realize I already lost because she's such a good lawyer. She's always planted these little traps for me that I always walk into. So I haven't won one. But she is a first-rate lawyer, a first-rate intellect, and she does not tolerate any BS. For her entire career, starting as a prosecutor, then attorney general, putting away sexual offenders, taking down transnational gangs, shutting down a nonprofit college that was ripping off people. Oh, that all sounds familiar. Her North Star has always been fighting for us and standing up to cowards. Kamala Harris can smell weakness, and we know that cowards are weak, and she can see one from a mile away. And she knows the best way to take a coward on is head on, right in their face. So the contrast tomorrow on that stage is going to be very clear. A lifelong public servant who has only had one client, us, the people, versus a guy whose only client has been himself, because that's all he cares about. And Kamala, she's so practical in everything she does, including the way she approaches public service. When she sees a problem, she solves the problem. When she sees a problem, she solves a problem. Campaign slogan. No. But that's what you want in a leader, right? You want leaders who actually get stuff done for us. And that's exactly what she does, too. So the other thing I want to tell you I forgot to mention is, like, she says hi. We had coffee this morning, and that should have been at the top. And she says hi because she's been here a lot, and she's going to be here soon. But since we're here talking about the fight for reproductive freedom, she just wanted me to remind you all to fight for it, to actually fight for it. And the one way we can fight for it is by helping her become the next president of the United States. Because as your governor said a day or two ago, time is a hazy concept for me now, if we win here in North Carolina, we got a really good chance of winning this election. So you can make the difference right here, right here. So we are talking about reproductive freedom, the fight for reproductive freedom. And I just want to take us back a little over two and a half years ago or so. My phone rings. It's my wife, the vice president, soon to be president. She was actually on Air Force 2, which will soon to be Air Force 1. But at that point, June of 2022, I had never actually heard her more upset. And she called to say, Dougie, they actually did it. They actually did it. And that was the moment that I found out that the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Got it right from her. Literally immediately after that, I got a text from Ella. And I don't hear from her all the time. Ella, please text me more. But at that point, she was furious as well. She was 23 at the time. She's 25 now. And she texted me. I wrote it down. Horrible, horrible, horrible day. Time to fight. I'm angry, and I don't want to stand by silently. You need to do something about this. This is Ella. But then, some of you might have met my mother at the convention. She's 83 now, but she was 81 at the time. I heard from her right after I heard from Ella. Now I do hear from my mom all the time, so this is not, but not about this. And she said essentially the same thing. Now remember, she was 81 2 years ago, which meant back in the 60s and early 70s, she was one of those women out there fighting for equal rights, fighting for reproductive freedom. And people like my mother thought that this was something they'd never have to talk about again, something that they thought was locked in. And this is why my mother was so upset. So here, my wife as vice president, who is so infuriated because, remember, she was on the Senate Judiciary Committee. And I think two of the three Supreme Court justices that Trump appointed for the sole reason of overturning Roe v. Wade looked at her when she was on that committee, when they were going through the nomination process. And you remember what they said? Oh, we will uphold precedent. We will honor stare decisis. See how that went? So I heard from my mother, and she literally said, honey, you need to do something about this. So 2.5 years of doing something about this, we are now here today on an issue that is so much worse than we all could have imagined. I mean, maybe they imagined it because, remember, Trump said women should be punished when he was running in 2016? You've heard from, what's-his-face, the little sidekick? J.D. Vance, right. You know, just no abortion, no exceptions for rape or incest. Can you imagine being a person like him to feel that way when a woman who's been subject to a violent crime, rape or incest, a violent crime, a violation, and then this character thinks that that person, especially if it's like a child, should have no agency over what happens to their body next? That's just immoral. That's wrong. And that's who they are. So that's why this election is what Kamala said at the convention, where this is not only the most important election in our collective lifetimes, but in the lifetime of our nation. This really is. It's not hyperbole. It's true. And that's what this bus tour of reproductive freedom is all about, is to remind Americans what's actually at stake in this election. Donald Trump wants to continue this extremist crusade. That's what it is. It's an extremist crusade that so few of us in this country want. This is something that the vast majority of us do not want, and that has actually been proven objectively in election after election since Dobbs came out. Red state, blue state, it doesn't matter where. The people do not want this. And the nerve of that Dobbs opinion to say, to paraphrase, women are not without rights here. They can just go to their states. Well, you've seen what states have done almost immediately after Dobbs. Basically complete bans is what it is. 6 weeks, even 12 weeks here. You barely know that you're pregnant. Ramifications for patients, but also for doctors. This is wrong, and barely anybody wants this. And that's why this election is so, so important, because we can vote our way out of this by getting Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in office. We need to elect pro-freedom candidates up and down the ballots. And you see what happens in these states. So it's not just who's president and vice president. It's who your senators are. It's who your congresspeople are. It's who your governor is. It's who your attorney general is. It's who's in the state houses. You've got to take this power back. So this small minority of extremists are making decisions for the majority of us that none of us want. And it's causing actual damage. You heard the stories about IVF. I've done events all over the country. You've seen the stories. You saw it at the convention of women on death's door. And you've got doctors who are afraid to provide treatment because they're looking over their shoulder, calling the legal department, looking at the insurance department because they think they're going to go to jail. They think they'll lose their medical license. And it's even worse than that. Doctors are leaving these communities. They're leaving these communities, and that means so when Kamala met Tim at the Planned Parenthood facility, they're not doing only abortions. They're doing basic health care like pap smears and things like that. Where are women going to get that treatment now if there's no doctors or facilities to do it? So this is a hellscape. It's a crisis created by Donald Trump. And now that they're trying to weasel out of it and trying to pretend, I'm pro-women, that's BS, and we all know it. We're not going to be gaslit by them. So I'm getting a little worked up here. I played a lot of competitive sports. I was a high-level trial lawyer. And one of my mottos to stay in the moment was to stay mad and channel that anger into action. So I want everyone to stay mad about these issues and channel that anger into action at the ballot box. And it's not just abortion, it's not just reproductive freedom, it's just about everything else. So we've talked at length about Project 2025, 900 some odd pages. It is literally a blueprint, a script, because I'm from Hollywood, but it's a blueprint to destroy our country. It's a blueprint to destroy our very way of life. And it's all in there. It literally is all in there. And it's not just the big things like taking your freedom away, taking your vote away, but it's benefits. It's benefits for food, benefits for veterans. It's everyday things that people rely on for their government. But as it relates to abortion, it is a full-on ban. Whether they get it through Congress or the Comstock Act, which is a law from the 1800s, they will stop at nothing with Project 2025 to get what these extremists want, which is a full-blown abortion ban, control of women, control of families, and we're not going to take it. And just because I'm still a lawyer at heart, I read these opinions, including the concurring opinions. So in Dobbs, which was the opinion that overturned Roe v. Wade, there was a concurring opinion by Justice Thomas. He actually had time to write this one, but it's pretty horrible because Justice Thomas basically said any other right to privacy based on the Griswold case, which was what Roe v. Wade was based on, let's take a look at that. That's now at risk. And what does that mean? The right to love who you want to love, the right to marry who you want to marry, the right to contraception. Basically what her husband always talks about, all those things that are in your bedroom, in your medicine closet, which he says, stay the hell out of there. That's what they're trying to get to. It's already in the Supreme Court's decision. That's what Project 2025 wants. That's what this Supreme Court wants. So who do you want picking the next Supreme Court justices? You got it. You got it. And I've talked a lot about this. This fight for reproductive freedom, this is not just a fight for women. It's not a fight only about women. This is for all of us. This is for men. This is for families. Everybody needs to care about this. I've talked at length with my daughter Ella since that fateful text, but I've also talked to Cole about it at length. Cole's 29 now. He just got married. His wife Greenlee's from Texas. Do you think they want to move to Texas at some point with a 6-week ban and they're trying to plan a family? I talked to one of the group chats I have is a bunch of dads, and we just chat. Well, mostly they make fun of me, but it's also just we talk about our families, we talk about our kids, and we all have sons and daughters, and we're concerned about them as it relates to this issue. So I'm talking about this with my dad friends. I'm talking about it with both my kids, and I've traveled around the country since Dobbs came out, talking about this issue and talking to men. I've done numerous events with this group called Men for Choice, and these are, a lot of them are young men in college, just out of college, and they know, one, it's just not fair. Women should not be treated as less than. They should not have less rights than men. But they also know that this issue impacts them and these other freedoms that we're talking about. So I know I'm going to continue to talk about this, whether I'm second gentleman, first gentleman, or just Cole and Ella's dad, because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. And to quote Kamala once again, because she's very quotable, we need to be a nation that trusts women. And I know I do. And as president, Kamala Harris will protect abortion access and reproductive rights in all 50 states. And if we do really well in this election, which we really need to and we have to, and Congress will pass a bill to restore reproductive freedom nationwide, she will sign it. So this election, on so many levels, is binary. Two guys who actually not only don't trust women, but are literally running on a platform of authoritarianism and misogyny. That literally should be their slogan, because that's what it is. So you want, people who literally are outwardly misogynistic in their policies and the way they talk about women and the policies in which they've already enacted and have talked about enacting. Or Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. It's completely binary. God, this would be a perfect time for a "we're not going back." And we're not. We're not going back. And in 57 days, we only have 57 days, we won't have to. We will not have to. And I just got to comment on something I saw over the weekend. They were talking about it this morning. I still can't believe this one. More of Trump's nonsense. So he's literally putting out on whatever his online network is, doubling down on threats, saying his political opponents, donors, and others, anyone who does not believe in his lies and supports them shall be put in jail. Can you believe that? This guy who wants to be president of the United States is basically copying his hero Putin's playbook right there. That is shameful. That should be disqualifying. Everyone should see that. There's no way that that guy can ever become president again talking like that. And if the goal is to, make us afraid or it's not working. I'm from Jersey. She's from Oakland. We don't scare that easy. We're not going to be intimidated. We're not going to be afraid. And more importantly, we're not going to be distracted. Because so much of this stuff, from Hannibal Lecter to this stuff, to the insults to her, the insults to me and our families, insults to her and her family, it's a distraction. It's a distraction because they don't want us actually talking about, see earlier comments on Project 2025, having Supreme Court justices that want to continue down the path of Dobbs and taking our freedoms away and taking our rights away and making this country something we will never recognize again, a place none of us will ever want to live in. That's what they're doing, and we cannot be distracted from that. So we're not going to be, you can't be. Kamala Harris, my wife, she is a joyful warrior. I get to have the joyful part at home, and you get it with all the empathy and all the stuff she does for us, but she's also a warrior. She is a badass. She is tough. She is a fighter, and she is going to fight for all of us. So, like I said earlier, the governor said this, our path to victory goes right through North Carolina. All right, so how do we do this? One, you got to register. Register to vote. October 11th is the deadline, so get everyone registered. And you can vote early here, starting October 17th. So know what these rules are. You got to register and go out and vote early. So then once you vote early, you can go out and help us get in your communities, in your neighborhoods. Talk to your friends and neighbors with enthusiasm, with joy, and yes, laughter. It's okay. But also, stay mad like me. You got to be aggressive. You got to be tough. You got to be focused, and you got to be disciplined because every minute matters. Every vote matters. Everything we do matters because it's going to be close. It is going to be close. Even for us, we know that this is a no-brainer, but we have to convince our friends and neighbors who aren't quite there yet and just give them the facts, show them a vision of Kamala Harris where we all belong, focused on the economy, the middle class, our freedoms, and moving us forward, and the darkness and despair of which all of our lives will be if this guy, God forbid, ever gets back to the White House. And that's what we got to do. So I'll end with something I love about her husband, because he is out there, and he's putting himself out there, and he has said, I'm going to work so hard, I'm going to go around, and I'll sleep when I'm dead. We disagree. I talked to her backstage. I said, I'm going to sleep on November 6th, because I want to enjoy the Harris-Walz administration. I want to be there for it. So thank you for being here. Thank our soon-to-be second lady. Thank all the leaders here. Now get out there and let's do the work. Let's win this thing. Thank you so much.